best-selling author. She's Mel Robbins, and here's my take on her top 10 rules of success, Volume 5. Enjoy! All right, let's kick things off with rule number 1, control how you live.
You know, I'm always looking for new ways to explain the power of the 5-second rule and the power of 5-second decisions. And I read something that Tim Ferriss said that really resonated with me. And he had this one line buried in a podcast somewhere that just jumped out, and it's stuck. And what he said is, he said something about how there's a gap between the world and the things that trigger you and your response. And your entire life is that gap. When you start to, this is not what he said, I kind of identified this gap, and I, of course, intrinsically was like, well, absolutely, that's the 5-second window between instinct or stimulus and your reaction. And when you start to understand that your whole life plays out in this 5-second gap, and that there's a gap that's 5 seconds long between fear and courage, and there's a gap that's 5 seconds long between self-doubt and confidence. That is your life. And what's super cool about understanding that your whole life is inside this gap is it's so small, everybody, that you have the ability to control it. Life's always gonna throw triggers at you, and there will always be all kinds of cool things that inspire you, your wisdom, and you get to choose what happens in that gap. Do you succumb to an excuse, or do you push yourself forward? When you start to speak up in business, you'll be shocked at how you start to speak up in your relationships. When you start to make hard phone calls, whether it's in a selling situation, you'll be surprised at how you'll start to close the gap and have hard conversations in your personal life. And so that gap is everywhere, and it's the same everywhere. And when you start to go to work in controlling how you live in that gap between stimulus or idea and your response, that's where the magic is.
Rule number 2, get rid of your phone.
So other than the 5-second rule, there is one habit that I have adopted in the last 3 years that has fundamentally changed me as a business person. And it has also changed my ability to manage my emotions so I don't get hijacked. I do not allow my phone in the bedroom. I know the research. Deloitte just did a study based on phone use alone, and 33% of people are reading emails in the middle of the night. I know that if you go to bed and the phone is right next to you, right? So you go to bed because you need your phone. You know, somebody might need you, and you sleep. You know, if this is right here and it's not closed and the blue light is on, they've done studies where they have people at a table and the researcher will put their phone on the table, not even my phone. The researcher's phone, and the brain lights up like crazy, just with the presence of a phone. The research around the phone and sleep is so stunning that if you were to adopt one radical thing today other than the 5-second rule, try putting your phone outside your bedroom, turn off the so you don't hear it. Tell people who need to reach you to call you. My kids, I have a kid in college, a kid who's high school, a kid in middle school. If there's an emergency, call me. There is nothing happening on your phone at 2 o'clock in the morning that's important. But if you allow yourself to become a tool of this is supposed to be your tool for selling, your tool for communicating, and we're all becoming the tool. Here's the other thing, common sense-wise, that I want you to understand. You wake up, the alarm goes off. What do? Whoop. So you're not even vertical, and you're reading emails. And what is in these emails? Other people's crap. If you don't have boundaries with this puppy, it's going to impact sleep, it's going to impact how much money you make, it's going to impact how much self-control you have. And so when I put this thing outside the bedroom and I wake up, I walk over to where the phone is, it's plugged into my bathroom, I turn it off, I don't look at it yet. I give myself 5 minutes. 5 minutes before I tune into the world to actually tune in up here and say, what's the one thing I'm going to get done today that really matters to me? If you're the kind of person that feels like you don't have control over your day, that your day gets hijacked, that you can't get to the priorities, that you're always behind the ball, this one planning thing will change your life. No phone in the bedroom, turn it off when the alarm goes off, 5 minutes, 5 lousy minutes. 5 lousy minutes before you tune into the rest of the world. And if you've got the kind of job where you've got to check it, get up 10 minutes earlier. You have control over this stuff, and it is so important that you take it seriously now because you're living at the slowest moment of your entire life.
Rule number 3, focus on the customer.
This is a huge mistake that people make in marketing, that so many newsletters are me. What am I thinking? Like, come look at me. Hey, I'm at an event. Hey, buy my And whenever we sit and write the newsletter, we're thinking about what is the most valuable thing because somebody has actually invited us into their inbox. And that is a critical question in marketing that most people are not asking themselves. They're spamming people and they're doing only shit that's about them. And they're not thinking about, well, why does somebody subscribe to me? And when we write that newsletter, and it's why it is so incredibly successful and why people love it, we're always thinking about, does this interest or help or entertain the person that's reading it? And, anytime that it turns out to be too much of us talking about us, somebody on the team catches it, thank God. Because there's nothing more annoying than having somebody go on and on and on about all the cool they're doing versus thinking about what are some interesting hacks and links and cool things that we can introduce people to that might improve their work or their life.
Rule number 4, take action.
Langley writes from Nigeria, I'm passionate about film and cinema, Mel. I tweet and I blog about it. People are inspired by what I write. But when I'm offered certain opportunities, I clench up and suddenly feel like an imposter who will mess up and be found. I'm 36, I'm single, in a paycheck-to-paycheck situation and feel like I have wasted many years due to overthinking, self-doubt, and never feeling good enough or ready. How can I overcome this? Well, you can't. You can't overcome the feelings that are rising up, Langley, but you can take action despite them. That's a very important distinction that I want each and every one of you to understand. The things that you're feeling, clenching up, feeling like you're not good enough, feeling like you're not ready, doubting yourself, kind of spending too much time thinking about how much time you've wasted. All that's normal that we all do. You cannot overcome those thoughts because they keep rising up and they've become a habit and it's sort of a pattern. So I don't want you to focus on the thoughts. I want you to focus on taking action, even though you doubt yourself. You are going to feel like an imposter until you push through that clenched up moment over and over and over again. And then suddenly, through action, Langley, you're going to see that you're not an imposter at all. You're actually the kind of person that pushes through and does what he or she says they are going to do. If you want to be successful in business, if you truly want that side hustle to turn into your full-time thing, you have to learn how to let the feelings of doubt rise up, but take action anyway.
Rule number 5, cheer for everybody.
I had tremendous success in the speaking business. I went from zero, never had been paid for a speech, to literally the most booked woman in the world in 3 years flat.
Crazy.
And there's a number of reasons why. Number one, the content's terrific. I'm also a really good public speaker. There's not a lot of women on the circuit, but more importantly, I behave in a way because I know that the number one asset in business is make the people you're dealing with know that they matter. Take care of everybody you deal with. Everybody. The event planners, the speaking bureaus, everybody has something that they're worried about. You get rid of the worry. You make them feel like they're important. Everybody wants to be around you. Because at the end of the day, we all want to know that we matter. So if you do business with people that make you feel good, my idea how often I said, I think, or actually, or, like all of these qualifiers.
Maybe.
Yeah, it takes the precision and the force out of your language and the way that you speak. And I had no idea how often I was being equivocal.
Rule number 9, have your own definition of success.
We were hiking with our kids. We have 2 teenage kids, and we were up in the presidential range in New Hampshire, and we were having a conversation about social media, and our daughter said something that I want everybody to take to heart. She said, your social life today is all about what everybody else is doing. And I think the same is true with business success. Too many of us fall into the trap of defining our business success by what other people are doing. And so if you get just one thing from our conversation today, other than a gigantic kick in the ass from both Peter and me, I want you to understand that your highest value proposition is you. There is only one you. You have inner wisdom. You have a unique set of experiences. You have struggles. All of that is yours. And so, yes, look around at what other people are doing and draw inspiration from it, but then pull it back in and check it against what your wisdom is telling you, what your definition of success is.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is apply the 6 months rule.
I've got a great question about dealing with relationships, friendships, where you have a close friend who's a real downer and they've got all kinds of issues and they are draining the you-know-what out of your energy. It happens all the time. I'm going to say a couple things about this. I have something that I call the 6-month rule. For the people in your life, your friends, your family, people are going to go through ups and downs, and I think it's super, super, super important that you be there for people, that you listen to the things that they're struggling with, that you give advice, that you help them find resources. You must do that. That's just part of being an incredible friend. However, when the issue sticks around so long that your friendship spirals into a situation where that friendship is nothing more than you listening to somebody complain, and now it's zapping your energy, now it's time for you to change how you're behaving in the friendship. So this is why I call it the 6-month rule. For 6 months, absolutely listen to somebody. Give them all the advice, be the shoulder they cry on, let them bitch and kvetch and all that stuff to you all day long. But if after 6 months your friend is still complaining and doing nothing, and is still complaining and acting helpless, is still stuck in that rut and refusing to take your advice, it's really important that you draw some boundaries. And it's important for you, it's also important for your friend. So here's what you're gonna do. You're basically just gonna say, look, I love you. I know you're going through a hard time, but I will no longer listen to you complain about it. And the reason why is because it's not helping you, and it's really starting to make me sad that you're still this stuck and you're not taking action. Let's definitely hang out. Let's spend a lot of time together, but we're not allowed to talk about this anymore. The second you start taking action to fix the situation, we can talk about it again. And you know that I'm here for you, but I'm not here for you so that you can stay stuck. I'm here for you so that you can get better, so that you can grow.
Now I've got 2 very special Mel Robbins bonus clips on how to 1, get rid of your fear of disappointing people, and 2, fixing your morning routine. But before that, I want to know, what did you learn from this video? Mel dropped a ton of knowledge. What piece, what nugget are you going to apply to your life, to your business immediately? Leave it down in the comments below. When you write it down, it's much more likely to actually happen in your life. So let's see it in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I believe in you. I hope you continue to believe in yourself. And whatever your one word is, much love. I'll see you soon, and enjoy the bonus clips.
This is, I believe, the single biggest factor for most people that robs them of success. That you use what other people might say or think or be disappointed by as an excuse to not fully be yourself, to not fully go after what you want. The fear of disappointment for me turned me into a liar, and I didn't even realize it, because I was so worried about creating a scene or upsetting people or having people judge me that I started lying as a strategy. I invented it as a 4th grader. It didn't work in my life. It made every relationship suck. It made me miserable, but that's what happened. So when you think about your pattern of being afraid of disappointing people, of managing not making a scene, you don't need to find the exact trigger when it began. If you find just one and you understand kind of how old were you and what did you feel and what were you trying to manage, and then for me, what I say to myself is, oh, well, I have a lot of empathy for myself now because I understand why I developed that strategy. And now that I saw that it was a strategy that worked, because lying really worked when I was little, not so much when I was an adult. When I understand it was a strategy, I can now say, oh, well, that's a strategy that worked then. Now that I'm in this chapter of my life, I'm going to pick a different strategy. When I was stuck, and facing bankruptcy, and my husband and I